We're back. This life ain't for everybody. You know it. This podcast today is probably going to be another message of a life that isn't for a lot of people. When we get into it, you're going to understand. I mean, you've heard other wrestlers on this show. You've heard the great David Taylor, the Magic Man. You've heard several other collegiate wrestlers on this podcast. It's not a life for everybody. The wrestler that we are talking to today, I also want to get into if he likes to be referred to as a wrestler, because that's kind of a weird box to put yourself into full time. But we have Kyle Dake, the Dake Bomb. You guys look him up. I know you've heard about him if you're into traditional wrestling like I am, college wrestling. If you know anything about this man, he can absolutely pick you up and put you in your place. Kyle, my man, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Buddy, I'm excited to have you on. I've been watching you wrestle for years, and one of the first things that you always think about when I think about Kyle Dake, I have a really good friend that's an NCAA Division II referee that lives in Minnesota. He's a big fan of yours. We always go back and forth on which wrestlers do we love to watch the most. Do we like the offensive part of wrestling? Do you like guys that, keep the defense there and don't let anybody score on them? Jaden had that string. You've had a string where you went, you didn't get scored upon for several matches in a row in different tournaments. But we always talk about what you accomplished in college. I don't know if it will ever be done again, but to win 4 NCAA Division I titles at Cornell in 4 different weight divisions, that's unheard of, right?
Yeah, it kind of just happened. It wasn't, I was probably, had I redshirted, had I gone to another school and took the first year off, which is pretty typical for any 18-year-old who's trying to go win a national title, is most of the time, they'll take a year off. And had I taken that first year off, I probably would have ended up being a 157 pounder that following year. But since I was a true freshman, I came in, I wrestled 140 in high school, and they were just like, all right, let's let it rip. You're at 141. And so we got through the preseason, but then about November, I felt like I was really struggling to make the weight. But for certifications, I had made it pretty easily. But I think it was just because I was growing. I grew about an inch from high school, my senior year in high school to my freshman year in college. And then that following year, I was like, okay, I'll go up. I can make the weight. Nothing will be as bad as cutting to 141. And then cutting to 149 was just as bad, if not a little bit worse. And then finally 50, when I got to 57, that was probably my wheelhouse of that's the weight class for me. And, going up to 165 my senior year was kind of just like a challenge and, to really help me jump levels and be better. And, it worked out. What
are you walking around at on campus when you're wrestling 141s?
I was walking around at like 160-ish. But yeah.
Look at she's so
my daughter,
cute.
Ella Jo.
Look at her. She's so cute. Hi, Ella Jo.
Can you say hi?
She's awesome.
She's just a little over 2 now. I have another one, a 6-month-old. She's taking a nap now. But Ella Jo's going to go make us tacos. You going to go make us tacos? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. Can you say see you later?
See you later.
Okay. See you later, alligator.
Go make us some tacos. Go with mama. Go on.
Talk to me a little bit, Kyle Dake, about the argument you hear out there in the sports world of cutting weight and the health risks. If it's done right, is it okay? Or were you obviously you're a smart guy. Cornell's an Ivy League school. You got a good brain on you. Your coaches are smart. They're not going to try to put you in harm's way, but how difficult is it on the body, or how treacherous is it on the body to be? I mean, you're dropping 19 pounds to weigh in. I don't know how many times a season you have to do that, or if you're fluctuating from like 141 and then you're jumping back up to 55 or whatever. But what is your stance on that argument of, especially the younger generations of wrestlers listening to this?
I would recommend not cutting weight. I mean, just stay up and just do your thing at, whatever weight you're naturally, you have a certain height, you have a certain body type, and I need you to go. Megan, I mean, you have a certain weight, and certain body type. This is the luxury of being a dad. She's just like, she wants attention all the time.
I love it.
Here. You can't say my daughters don't love me.
Yeah, I love it.
But sorry about that. Anyway,
no, you're good.
So I would recommend, not really cutting weight, just because when you start to deplete yourself of water, you start to deplete yourself of electrolytes, you start to deplete yourself of nutrients. It takes a while to get all that back. And, for me, I'd have to make weight on, a Saturday and then the following Saturday. So I would make weight. And then that very next day I'd like give myself a day to like get, eat what I wanted to an extent, drink what I wanted to an extent. And I would just be chugging Gatorade and water. And back then I didn't take my diet as seriously as I do now, and what the inputs are. There's a lot of advertising that goes into selling those sugary drinks and goes into selling, those snacks. And to a point, most people are like, well, if it's in moderation. Well, when they say moderation, they don't mean, you can have, 1 pack of Oreos per week. That's not moderation. So, but that was kind of what I was doing. Like, I'd be like, all right, time to celebrate. Like, I just wrestled really well and I need to let loose, or whatever it is. So I wasn't nearly as disciplined as I was. I was really disciplined, but I just would let loose and get a little crazy, kind of week in and week out. But the argument of, gaining weight or not gaining weight, growing or not growing, you really gotta make an effort. And if you're going to do it right, there is a way to do it right. If you're going to do it right, you can do it. But, you got to have someone who's very, very disciplined. And I wasn't that guy for a long time, but now that I'm older, now that I'm a dad, I have a little bit more discipline. You have
a discipline in a way of being able to follow your nutrition plan more. But at that time in your life, you're winning and your body's reacting the right way. You're burning the right amount of calories. You don't slack off in conditioning. So your mindset is, I can do whatever. Like when I went to college to play baseball, Kyle, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I could go to the dining commons and eat whatever I want because my body was burning calories so fast. When you're wrestling, you're burning 10 times the amount of calories as you are playing baseball, right? So is that kind of what it was like? You're just relying on your natural talent and your metabolism? Yeah,
it was just like calories in, calories out. I didn't really look at, the nutrients, the micronutrients, all of those things. Those are aspects that were just like, oh yeah, don't worry about those. Like, I'm going to make the weight. I'll be fine. I'm going to get enough. I eat well enough. I'll be good. And, I get some romaine lettuce on my burritos, and, so I got some greens there. I'll have an onion, some onion on my burrito too. So I'm good. But just looking back, I was like, man, and I feel like I could have felt so much better, been so much more dominant. And that's where these past few years, I've really honed it in and, become a lot more disciplined. Really in 2015 was really the time that all happened.
You just qualified for the Olympic team. You swept one of the most prolific USA team members in the history of the sport, in my opinion, in Jordan Burroughs. The guy's been on the USA team for, I don't know, over a decade now, maybe. He's represented the Olympics. He's won Olympic gold. He's an NCAA. I mean, the guy's done it, right? I want to talk a little bit about that time in your life of what it felt like when that happened. But right now, you said that you wrestled with DT this morning, just training, and you're down on a mat and you're wrestling. Give me an idea of your nutrition now. You look like, to me right now, looking at you on this screen, you look very, very lean to me. You look leaner than I've ever seen Kyle Dake look. Is that normal for coming off of the Olympic trials? Didn't you want to gain a little bit of water weight back? Because you look extremely lean right now. So what are you eating? What's your nutrition like right now?
Yeah, so we are about 4 weeks away from the Pan Am Championships. And like I said, I got to be pretty disciplined if I want to perform at the level that I know I can. And that was a big reason why I went 79 the past 2 years, was because it was more, in my weight range where I didn't have to cut much. it'd be like the last couple of days where I'd really have to watch how much I was putting in to make the weight. So, but now, it's extra 5 kilos down. So 4 weeks is about when I start to like, okay, I probably shouldn't have that extra taco. I shouldn't have that, that extra slice of watermelon or whatever it is, just like start to slowly bring it down a little bit further. But when I have like hard training periods, like last week we were in Colorado Springs, we had a pretty hard training period. And then this week being here with David, he's huge. So I try to stay a little bit bigger, just so I can handle the mass that I'm dealing with on a daily basis. So, but my diet, in the morning, I'll usually have some eggs, some leftover protein, whether it be venison or beef or fish or pork or whatever we have. And then we'll have sweet potatoes, green salad for lunch, maybe some nuts, some cashews or something like that, a ton of water, bone broth, try to get as much organ meat as I can. That night, usually we have a leaner meat. Usually a lot of the time it is red meat. So I got my first deer this past year. So we have a bunch of venison, that we cook up and do roasts. And I'm actually giving David the backstrap or part of the backstrap tomorrow.
Wow.
He's like, oh, venison. I've never had. What? Of course. I was like, all right, well, I appreciate you letting me come down. And it's kind of just like a thank you, but hopefully he'll let me eat something. He's got his smoker. So I've never done it on a smoker, but he seems to think he'll make it pretty good.
Oh, we got to get you a Traeger, Dake.
Yeah, well, I probably should get one, huh?
Yeah, we'll talk. All
right, sounds good.
That backstrap of a whitetail deer or a mule deer, whatever it is awesome on a Traeger. But it sounds to me like very high protein, the right starches, lots of hydration. Explain to me real quick before we move on to burros of the broth. Is this because of sodium and hydration, the beef broth, that it's also something that kind of curves your cravings for other stuff? Because like I've been doing the carnivore diet. Chad Mendez from the UFC, he's a wrestler. You know the name Chad Mendez, I'm sure. He's a stud. He's been doing it 60 days and it's helping him out. He's leaned out big time. It's helping some stuff with his skin. But he told me, hey, just take a couple spoonfuls of beef broth at night. And it helps me because instead of me going and plowing through a stick of salami, I'm like, oh, that suffices, right? Is that kind of what that broth does to a wrestler?
So I guess the initial part is like, well, I try to eat nose to tail. So, try to eat every part of the animal is kind of like where I'm at. And with the bone broth, what it'll do, like if I, instead of having like a cup of coffee, like a midday cup of coffee or something like that, I'll just have bone broth instead. And it'll just like curb my appetite for a long time because it's like a fat bomb. So, most of the time, if you go to the store and you buy bone broth, it doesn't have that like thick cap of fat on top of it. Whereas if you make it yourself, which is what we do, we just have like that nice fatty substance to it too, which makes it just ridiculous. My oldest daughter will just like make sure if we don't have any, she just freaks out. She's like, Dad, you're not gonna let me have bone broth this morning? What are we doing? So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I love doing it with like beef ribs, beef prime rib. We did a bunch of broth. We do a lot of it with our ducks and geese, to where we'll render the duck fat and then make a broth with that. And it's, oh my gosh, it's like, and then you can put it, freeze it and use it in a ton of recipes, throughout the season or throughout the year. You are participating in probably the most disciplined. I don't know if there's a harder sport in the world. I look up to wrestlers because to be able to do that at that level is amazing to me, right? And you don't need anybody to tell you how good you are. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is that it's a game that's different for me because one, you do have a team, but you're on your own. You do have a coach, but you're on your own. It's the foundation of the oldest sport in the world, right? In the Roman days of the Olympic Games, and to see that it was almost canceled by the Olympics was unbelievable to me, and I'm so thankful that it wasn't. But you have a foundation that is literally like tenfold, Kyle Dake. And what I mean by that is I saw you throwing hands the other day, and let's say you did decide to go that route someday. There's nothing worse in fighting than a wrestler that can take you down with a double leg and then have fists. There's somebody that can throw, make you think he's coming with the overhand right like Hendo would, hit you with a double leg, or the opposite where Hendo's a collegiate wrestler at Oklahoma State and he's a Greco-Roman Olympic alternate with Randy Couture and them. He fakes a double leg and then he comes over the top with the H-bomb and absolutely levels people, right? So the foundation that wrestling gives you is amazing at that next level of the fight game in MMA, but also in life. The mentality, the discipline, the leadership skills, the focus. You know what I mean? Like that, being able to conquer diversity, being able to adapt puts me in this position. Like there was that match with DT at the Olympic trials when he was wrestling that 2-time NCAA champion from, now I can't remember. It was one of his last matches. He beat him 4-0.
Cornell guy.
Yeah, Cornell guy. He was a Cornell guy.
Gabe Dean, he's my training partner.
Yes, great. I was like, damn, this guy is showing out against DT. But every time he would put a move on DT, he adapted and countered it. That was a very counteractive match for David Taylor. Wasn't real high offense for him. So wrestling teaches you all of this. And that's why I've always had this passion and love for it, because I don't think there's another sport that pushes your mind and your physical ability the way wrestling does.
Yeah, everyone, I forget who said it. Maybe it was Gable or someone like that. But, after you wrestle, everything else in life is easy. Well, life is really hard, right? Everyone's got something. Everyone's got their own problems that they're dealing with and they're trying to solve and figure out and get through. And going through wrestling practice is kind of like artificially putting you through life. In the beginning, you're kind of walking around, you're having a good time. And then all of a sudden you start going and, it gets a little bit harder. And then, you're trying to do stuff that's not working. And then, finally it's just like, okay, we gotta butt heads here. We're two bulls. We're hitting each other now. And you kind of just go and go and go and go and go. And you're dead tired and you don't want to go anymore. And then coach is over there saying, all right, let's go again. So, life kind of throws all these obstacles at you all the time just to test you. And I think wrestling really helps you prepare for that. And obviously there's, certain things in life that you just can't prepare for. But, I feel that wrestling has set me in a really strong trajectory to be able to handle anything that's thrown at me.
Describe to me, before we get back into the Burroughs match, describe to me the pressure that you put on yourself as a man. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a son, you're a teammate, you're a student, you're this, you're that, right? But you are known, and I'm not saying, again, I started this conversation by saying, I don't even know if you want to be known as a wrestler, okay? On your headstone someday in 80 years, you want to say, he was a great father and a great mentor and a great husband. I get that. But when you're at Cornell and you know that you're like on the road to history, right? You're like, if you win this 4th title, there's not many people that win 4 titles, let alone at 4 different weight divisions, right? There's great Olympic wrestlers. John Smith is probably one of the most notarized, famous Olympic wrestlers of all time. You got Dan Gable, you got Kell that was undefeated, amazing career. But at 4 different weight divisions, how much pressure were you putting on yourself? Did you see a change in yourself? Did your grades go down? Was it hard to concentrate on anything but wrestling? Were you closed off to friendships and fun and your parents? Or was everything hunky-dory and you're just like, I'm going to go whip this dude's butt tomorrow?
It was kind of, not everything took the back burner. I still was an academic All-American that year. I was still, I was with my wife. I've been with my wife since high school. And, we were still together in college and, my parents were right there. So they were there supporting me all the time. I was still going to my brother's football games. That was his senior season. And, so I was still living my life, but it was just like, everything was really concentrated and, okay, we have practice, nothing else matters. Like, I have to, you're supposed to have office hours here, call the teacher like, hey, I can't come. I have practice. Is there another time that I can come? And, all the teachers kind of, professors knew like, hey, he's trying to do something that's never been done. It's going to really help the university and put their name out there. And it just looks good for us. So I went in, day one of the first semester and day one of the second semester and talking to my teachers and just letting them know like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And this is really important to me. I'm not trying to say that your class isn't important, but, this is really, really important to me. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that I keep you in the loop. But, this is going to take priority. And I think the honesty for the professors were like, oh, this guy's not trying to lie to me and tell me his grandma's really sick and he can't come to 8 a.m. class. He's willing to show up at 8 and then, get the work done as best he can and then go to practice. So, that was where I was at. It was just really important for me to have open communication, and everyone had my back. I'm from Ithaca, New York. So all those professors have seen me in the newspaper coming up through, and they kind of made, obviously they made it a pretty big deal throughout the whole season. And it was pretty cool to have everyone on my back.
You're from that part of the country. Was there ever a part of, did you start at Cornell? Forgive me for not knowing, but your redshirt season was at Cornell too, correct?
So I didn't redshirt. So I grew up in Lansing, New York, which is the next town north on Cayuga Lake. It's one of the Finger Lakes. So Ithaca is at the bottom, the south end of Cayuga Lake. Just north on the east side is Lansing. So I grew up there. My dad coached at Cornell for a few years, and then he decided to move and be the Lansing high school coach. So I wrestled for my dad, all the while going to Cornell camps every summer, going to all the Cornell matches. So I was, I grew up as a Cornell wrestler, and I got good enough grades where I could get in. And as soon as I graduated high school, I moved on to campus and started, just going. And I was at practice every day, trying to learn, get my butt whipped. And then day after day, I would just keep coming back for more, keep coming back. And eventually I was wrestling these guys really hard. And then I started beating them, and I started making those improvements. And so I had always been attached to the program and have been there literally my whole life.
Wait a minute. So how did we start this conversation off then, Kyle, if I misunderstood you? I thought you said that you did take a red shirt, and a lot of people do. You didn't.
No. So a lot of people do take red shirts. That's why it was different for me, because I didn't take one.
Wow.
So I was the first one to win 4 NCAA titles at 4 different weight classes with no red shirt, and which is kind of unheard of. True freshmen winning NCAA titles is not very common. But it's happened, and repeating it is not always easy. Pat Smith won as a true freshman and then had to take a red shirt one of the years. I forget why he took one, but Cale took a red shirt. Logan Stever, who won, took a red shirt as well. 2 red shirts, I think. But obviously you're not taking anything away from him for being a 4-time NCAA champion. That's still pretty awesome. So
now you're 1 year out of high school as an 18-year-old kid wrestling at Cornell in the Ivy League in Division I, and you win a title. My question to you before I got educated on that was, there's a lot bigger wrestling programs in the country right now than Cornell. You got Oklahoma State's back then. You had the Penn States. You had several schools that are known for, and I'm not saying that Cornell isn't, but did a part of Kyle Dake, did your mentality or psyche ever say, man, I need to be over with Cale, or I need to be down with John Smith, or one of those more traditional, like Iowa, the Hawkeyes? That's probably the most, is that probably arguably the most recognized wrestling program in the history of America? I know what Cale's doing now, but would you say it's the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably the most storied program. Oklahoma State's right there too.
Oklahoma State.
I mean, they've had, before Iowa went on their big run, they had a bunch of team titles. And then even after after Gable left, Oklahoma State started winning again. But yeah, no, those 2 programs were huge. But in high school, I was kind of like, went to a really small school. So I wrestled in small school. I never won Fargo. I made a world team, but it was in Greco. I won the NHSCA Nationals, but it was just age division. So like there was always an excuse as to why I wouldn't fit in there. And my style wasn't really like this high powered. So I wasn't attacking the legs all the time. So Oklahoma State was like, he's more defensive. We don't really need him. Iowa never picked up the phone. Penn State never picked up the phone because they had David. So like, Kyle and David are going to be the same weight. Like we don't, we're not going to do that. And then Ohio State called, but they had recruited the guy, and they had Logan Stever, but then they also recruited the guy that beat me my junior year in high school. So they thought they got the better New York kid. And so I just never got the call. But I think everyone kind of knew that I was going to go to Cornell. And Cornell was really good. I mean, they had the longest conference championship streak going on for a long time. And, they were producing national champions pretty much every year. 2005, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I was there. So I felt like I could win there, but yeah, I felt like that was going to just be the place for me. I didn't really, I looked at a couple, like one other place, Binghamton, which is about an hour from me, but I wanted to stay close to home. I wanted the familiarity aspect of it all. And, it just worked out.
137-4. Is this the correct college wrestling record?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you name all 4 of your losses?
Oh yeah. I lost to, my first loss was to Reese Humphrey from Ohio State. It was in overtime. I felt like it wasn't a takedown, shouldn't have lost, but I did. And then I lost to this other kid, Zach Bailey from Oklahoma. And then that was my freshman year. And then I didn't lose after the Las Vegas tournament. And then I lost to the next year. I lost to my old teammate, my old high school teammate. His name's Donnie Vincent. He actually coached at Cornell for a few years. Good dude, really good dude. Great wrestler. Just awesome dude. And at the conference my sophomore year, I lost to a guy named Kevin LaValle. Never wrestled him before, and then all of a sudden just like blew it. And but anyway, I'm over it, kind of, as you can tell. But that was the last time I lost in college for sure.
Not one loss after your sophomore year, though.
Yeah, no, I went undefeated after that. It was pretty cool. I wrestled a lot of matches. Obviously in the summertime I wrestled, I lost. I tried to go seniors and didn't perform, but that was the last time. It was pretty storied career. I mean, I had a lot of support going into it the whole time, but it was awesome.
When you start thinking about your record in college, how does it affect you looking back on that? Is there anything that you would change about? Obviously, I'm not talking about the undefeated if you went undefeated, but do you think that you lived the life, your best life of those 4 years? Because we're talking about a time in your life that you made history. Do you feel that you got everything out of it that you wanted to in those 4 years at Cornell?
Personally, I think I did. I think that, after I won my senior year, I ended up actually meeting other people. Most of my friends were all just wrestlers or other athletes who, were of the similar mindset, pursuing athletic excellence with academic excellence. And, there's a huge Greek life on campus that never really interested me. There was all sorts of different clubs and things you could do, but those never really interested me. So I don't think I missed out. But if you were to ask a typical college student, hey, what does college mean to you? What does that look like? They would have saw my life and they would have been like, that is nothing I want to be a part of. But for me, it was exactly what I wanted. I
love it. So no do-overs, no regrets. Not counting I know the LaValle and what you're talking about with the losses, because listen, let's just get it out there, right? Kyle Dake, you're four matches away from being considered the best all-time wrestler in the history of college. I'm not saying that you're not in that list, but Chael's up there a lot because of his record, right? But now it's a no-brainer. You're a 4-time NCAA champion with no losses and 141 wins. Does this ever cross your mind at this time in your life, even though after all the success you've been having after college?
I don't think so. I mean, those losses were really important and they kind of slingshot me ahead, because it was, when the going got really tough and that was really tough for me. Those first 2 losses, I had a horrible weight cut. I was just I was hurting really bad. And I felt like I still should have won, and I lost in overtime both those times. But it was hey, dude, even when you're feeling crap, you feel 40% of what you should be, you're still out there and you're almost getting it done. So I think it gave me some confidence moving forward. I can do anything. I can hang with anybody, and it doesn't matter how I'm feeling. You just got to go. And there was definitely some times where I wasn't feeling good at the NCAA tournament, and you had to gut it through. You had to gut it out and go make it happen. So that was something that I think I cherish more than most people would, like to admit. It's like, well, those losses shaped me. They made me better, and they pushed me to be better.
Please educate myself and the audience, Kyle Dake, on your history with one of your best friends in the sport. I assume David Taylor's one of your best friends, if not your best friend in the sport. Tell me your history, because there's some really cool history competitively between the two of you, even though you are great friends now, correct?
Yeah. So I would say David's probably my best friend in the sport of wrestling, for sure. Just from the shared, spotlight. David had this huge spotlight on him his entire career. And, I started to feel that when I started winning NCAA titles, and, we started getting onto world, national teams together, and then world teams together, and now Olympic team together. But yeah, so David is from Ohio. My family is from Ohio, and every Thanksgiving we would go out, and we'd go out a couple days early before Thanksgiving, and it would be, right in the middle of the season. And, you got to be training. So I wrestled David at I think it was 98 pounds in Fargo. We were freshmen. It was before our freshman year. And he had already won, because I think he was a second year cadet that year. But he had already won 2 Fargo titles, I think. And I wrestled him in Greco. And back then the rules were kind of wonky. It was like the 3-period rules. And I threw him for 5. So I won 1 period. And then I headlocked him to his back, had him pinned. He grabbed my leg and rolled me over. This is my favorite story to tell about David, because he's like, oh, no, ref didn't see it. Ball don't lie. I was like, you son of a gun. So then I end up losing, I lost that period and then lost to him again. I think I gave up a trap arm gut or something. And then in freestyle, he dusted me. He he made sure there was no doubt. But that was after that, my dad or my mom was sitting right behind Big Dave Taylor, and they were talking about, oh, where are you from? Ohio, blah, blah, blah. All the connections were made, and they exchanged phone numbers, and like, hey, if we come out to Ohio, Kyle would love to come train with him. And so they kind of, the parents kind of background set it up. And then once we got together, we were just both high energy. We had, we just wanted to go. And, we watched Talladega Nights probably 1 million times. And that's where David got his name, Magic Man. And it was just kind of cool, from there. And then we didn't compete again until my senior year in 2012, the All-Star Classic, 2012 Olympic team trials. We competed one time. So I had just won at 157. He had just tech falled everybody at 165. And that was his sophomore. Yeah, that was his sophomore year. And then we wrestled on the backside on some corner mat. And, he was in a shot. I think I cut him back and ended up pinning him. But
you pinned David Taylor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That not many people can say this, correct?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he's gotten pinned since. Yeah, I think I was the last person to pin him. I'm gonna have to ask him that. I'm probably gonna call him and right after this interview and see if I was the last person to pin him or not.
Yeah.
But so we wrestled there, and then we wrestled at the All-Star Classic, Southern Scuffle, wrestled at the NCAA Championships, wrestled at the World Team Trials in 2013 and 15, wrestled at the Open in 16, wrestled at the Trials in 16. And then that was the last time we wrestled, was in Trials at 16, because then I ended up going back down to 74 kilos in 2017. And then 18, I was at 79. He was at 86. 19, he was hurt. I was at 79. 20, no season. 21, on the team together.
So what's your overall record against the Magic Man?
Including those. So I think he beat me another time when we were kids at the Ohio Tournament Champion. So I think he has 3 wins over me, and then I have, I don't even know, 7 maybe over him.
7-3.
I think so.
I wonder if there's a part of David Taylor that wishes you guys were in the same weight division for the Olympic trials and he had a rematch against you.
I'm sure there is.
He can't be digesting that very well, in my opinion.
I think we've moved on and we moved past it. And once you win a world title, it's kind of like, all right, we're cool. We won it together, and we really did. I mean, as competitors, we really pushed each other to be better, but as teammates, we pushed each other even harder. Just because we were able to share our secrets and really open our eyes so that we can, there's this new door that was just unclear to me. And, he just opens it. It's like, oh, okay, there's this whole nother space that we have to navigate so that when I get out on the mat and I'm wrestling a Russian or whoever, I'm like, okay, I remember this situation with David. Now I know what to do. So I think that's something that's special, and I really appreciate.
I want to say this in like the most respectful way that I can, because we've already said the name Jordan Burroughs, but there's something to be said about a guy. I guess, first of all, Kyle, in athletics, there's always that time in an athlete's life to where they kind of know it's coming to the end. It happened with BJ Penn, but then they come back and they're like, I still got this fighting desire, but their body's just like, I can't do it anymore. Their mind's telling them, I'm still BJ Penn that whipped Matt Hughes' butt and choked Matt Hughes out, who had ungodly strength and was a freaking stud wrestler out of Illinois. Not University of Illinois. I don't remember where he went, but happens all the time with athletes. They don't know when to say it's enough. I don't consider Jordan Burroughs at that time in his career. He is built like a Greek god. Let's just, in a nice, respectful way. The dude has been in like GQ, I think, or on the cover of Sports Illustrated for physique. Wasn't he one of the best physiques in the world last year or 2 years ago? Do you remember that?
I forget what it was. I think it was in the top 50.
Top 50.
He was in there. Yeah. I don't remember
He's in amazing shape. The guy's mentally tough as they come. You did not beat a guy at the end of his rope, is my point in saying this, okay? You beat one of the best wrestlers of all time, and you swept him, I think, 3-1, 3-2, or 3-0, 3-2 in the Olympic trials last month in Fort Worth, Texas. Do you spend countless hours breaking down video on Jordan Burroughs, or do you already know so well, of seeing him wrestle live so many times in the past decade, being around him so much, what you have to do going in there?
I compete against him a bunch. And then also, studying video and really, most recently, I guess it was in 2017, 18, end of 2017, 2018, really trying to mimic a lot of what he does, a lot of his movements. And, what I used to do great, if you go back and watch in 2017, 2016, my defense is just really, really good. And I would stand in front of people and say, bring it on. And I would just stand there. And they would shoot, I'd catch them, and then we'd wrestle. And that just didn't feel like it was sustainable. So I ended up, finding this guy. He has a company called Functional Patterns. His name's Naudi Aguilar. And he had this different vision for, what I should be like. Because he would come in and practice and see me wrestle, and he'd be like, why don't you do that, what you just did, move my feet really well all the time? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, we need to figure that out. Like, we need to figure out how we can make you move your feet and, get you to go in and out and be more offensive. So we're still in the process. I don't think I'm anywhere near my complete form of what I can be as a wrestler, which is very exciting for me and probably not very exciting for my competition, because I feel like there's many facets of my game where I can improve upon. And, what Naudi does is he just, breaks everything down from a human perspective. What are humans meant to do? Walk, run, and throw. How can we take those? How can we make you an excellent walker, excellent runner, excellent thrower, and put that into the sport of wrestling? What are the mechanical drivers that are there? How is it supposed to sequence so that you get the most potential out of your body in order to do that? And nobody in the world is doing that right now. Nobody can even come close to the way he sees the human body. And he had to learn wrestling as well. Like, he had no exposure to wrestling. And then he finally got it when I wouldn't leave him alone pretty much, because I was in a ton of pain and I was just looking for any answer. And I followed a couple of his videos. He got me out of pain. And then all of a sudden, we had this pretty cool relationship, and he was just like, all right, well, I think I can make you a better mover. What do you think? And I was like, let's do it, because I had so much trust in him, because he really threw away all my pain that I was chronic pain that I was dealing with, which was pretty awesome.
So this man, what's his name again? I'm sorry.
His name is Naudi Aguilar. He's from Washington State. He started a company called Functional Patterns in 2009. And he was based out of Seattle for a while. That's where I found him. And then he moved to Kauai, and he has practitioners all over the world. He does courses. He has online courses. But yeah, the reason I found him was because I was dealing with some knee pain and some elbow pain and some hamstring pain. And I watched his videos, and they were, at the time they were on YouTube, and he left them up there for a while, and I watched them, probably 10-minute videos, and my hamstring had never felt better before. My elbow felt better. My knee felt better. I was like, what is this? What is he selling? Like, I want to buy everything he's got. And he's like, I'm just trying to help people. I was like, holy moly. And I just started pestering him. He happened to accept my friend request on Facebook at the time, because Facebook was all we had. Instagram wasn't what it is now. And neither was Twitter. So I ended up, being able to go out and really pursuing this. And I asked the right questions, and he wasn't looking for someone that was like, hey, can you make me stronger? I was like, hey, my rib cage is messed up in this way and this way. Like, is there any way that you can fix it? And he was just like, all right, this isn't a typical athlete. He wants to actually fix some problems and deal with some dysfunctions. Let's help him out. So, that's how I got started with him. But it's been, obviously the company and myself have grown up and really adapted to the new times. And I'm just super thankful to have those guys in my corner.
When you start talking about a guy that can take the human body and break it down scientifically and biologically, like you're describing, and you start learning your body, like I do it a lot, like it used to be Advil. Well, no, I can roll out right now. I can do this stretch. I can roll out my IT band. I can roll out my lats. I can do stuff with my deltoids. I can do a lot of stuff with my body. I can actually get rid of headaches now instead of just taking Advil, based on understanding proper mechanics and movement and functionality of the body, like you're talking. But in wrestling, we're also dealing with something called mentality and focus and discipline and tenacity and the psychological part of the nervous system and, the body as a whole. Does a wrestler like Kyle Dake ever need to seek help in this area? Is the mentality of a wrestler so tough that you don't need a life coach or a psychiatrist to let you focus, or let you have a therapist once a week to get rid of the stress or the things that are bothering you to keep your mind clear? Does that help at all? Or do you just need the body part of it?
I think everything starts with the body. Obviously I have my wife, my parents, friends and family that are close to me, who really support me when times do get tough. But I think, the best thing that like you said, if you have a headache, knowing where to release that tension and what you can do, every movement that you do should be therapeutic. You shouldn't, everyone's like, oh, no pain, no gain. And I used to be that way. And now it's like, if there's different types of pain. If, does it feel good? Like it's, decompressive? Does it feel like it's creating a new length potential that you didn't have? Does it feel like you are, being able to connect muscles in a way that you never had before? It should feel good. And, if you can reorient your tension, your body's just like, all of your joints, all of your cells just feel like they can breathe. They can get the amount of fluid that they need to those areas. Like if one of the easiest tests that you can do is you just take your elbow or your thumb or a lacrosse ball and you just push it into your shin bone. Leave it there for maybe a minute and then take your finger off. And is there an indentation there? Well, yeah, most of the time there is an indentation. How long does it take for that to come back? And for me, I was struggling. I was struggling bad. And there was 5-10 minutes and was still not coming back. Now I do it and it's back in 20 seconds. So it's how can I get the amount of fluid that I need to where it's supposed to be? And what does that even mean? What does that what does it mean getting fluid to the areas? That, like, what does that even mean? And a lot of that is just like, okay, well, can I hydraulically pump my blood somewhere so that I can get nutrients to that spot? And it's definitely way more complicated than that. But at the same time, like the results that I've gotten in terms of pain, in terms of performance, in terms of movement, in terms of like, conditioning, all that stuff, it's just been incredible. And if I can just fall back on my training and fall back on my cross training, like I feel great. I feel awesome.
So functionality, are you telling me this Kyle Dake is the starting point of your ability to beat Jordan Burroughs, of understanding your body and getting out of pain first, and then it goes to your talent and your ability to shoot on him or to be an offensive or defensive wrestler against arguably the best, one of the best wrestlers of all time in modern day for sure?
Yeah, I mean, if you're building a house and you have your foundation set, but the cinder blocks aren't lined up perfectly. And, you start building, and then all of a sudden the walls are good, but they're not perfect. And the brick you laid for your chimney is good, but it's not perfect. And then all of a sudden, you get this huge test. You call it a tornado of Jordan Burroughs. Sorry about that. You call it a tornado of Jordan Burroughs. What is your house going to hold up? And for me, I had to go back and brick by brick put it back together. And it started with my foundation. It was like, well, what do you do really well? Okay, this part of the wall looks good. We need to do some serious repairs to fix your knees, to fix your shoulders, to fix your hips. Like, we need to fix these things before we even think about putting muscle on it. Like, you need to be able to hit these ranges of motion. And right now you're going through way too many ranges of motion. Like, my range is supposed to be from here to here, and this is flexible. This is like not flexible. I was way down here, way too flexible. I was like a contortionist. And it was like, okay, well, how do we fix that? Well, just tighten them up the muscles. It doesn't work like that. There's very specific sequences that you need to do to be able to fix yourself.
So you don't want to be over flexible as a wrestler either. You want to be somewhere in the middle. You don't want to have tight hamstrings. But so what I've learned about flexibility is it can be overrated. You don't need to go in and overstretch all of the time. Warming up and understanding your body is way more key than the old days when it was all the 30-minute warm-up in baseball practice or basketball and hamstrings and somebody pushing your leg back over your head and all of these movements. You're saying that there is a such thing as too much flexibility?
Of course. I mean, if you take the most flexible people in the world, who are like, if I tell you to pick someone who's flexible, who are you going to choose? Like, gymnasts, people who do yoga, like, how much power are they able to produce? Like, are they moving other humans? Like, no. Like, they might be able to do it in a specific context, but if you're like ridiculously flexible, you're losing power. And the reason is because your length potential is gone. You're like a rubber band. If you pull the rubber band back and you just hold it there and you let it dry out, is it going to have that same snapback? No. But if you pull it back and you let it go, you pull it back and you let it go, eventually it could be a problem if you don't take care of it, But our muscles are like those rubber bands. You got to take care of them, and you can't pull them back too far. You pull them back too far, they snap. And if you don't pull them at all, if you're super hypertonic, well, you're not going to be able to create that snapback. So there is a range of motion that you want to hit, and it's how can you be most optimal? And and David and I were talking about today actually is like, the stuff I do really well, David can't do. The stuff that David does really well, I can't do yet. I'm figuring it out because like I'm the guinea pig. Like, I'm literally studying film and like watching David all the time. Like, how can I, what mechanical drivers am I missing that allows David to do this, but doesn't allow me to do that? Like, what's going on? Are my shoulders not flexible enough? Is it because of my rib cage? Is it because of my neck? Like, what's going on? And, the more we talk about it and the more I look at it through this lens, it's been making a huge difference for me.
I think Jordan Burroughs has been quoted as saying something like, in order for me to live my dreams, I have to crush theirs. There's some quote out there, and David reminded me of it one day. When you wrestle somebody like that, and you've had the success that you've had in your career, is there any emotional tie-in to seeing him not make the team and knowing that you are responsible for that? I know that you're happy as hell to be on the team. I'm not trying to make this sound like, well, we're all created equal and we all get a participation award. I know that there's champions and there's not champions. I get that mentality. But what went through your mind? Do you feel a little bit sorry for breaking that streak for him?
I mean, at the end of the day, he's had his time and he's had his opportunity. And I think this is something that's really, really been important to me is, we have never had an equal opportunity to wrestle the world championships. It's Team USA wrestling. It's always one guy gets to go. You go out, you lay it on the line. Well, I never had an opportunity to lay it on the line, wrestle the best guys in the world because of the way it's set up. And he had all those opportunities. He had those opportunities to go out and prove himself, and he did. How many times did he win the world championships? He's Olympic gold medalist. He's, multiple time bronze medalist. So he's had those chances, and I just felt like it was my time to go take that chance. And, right after the match, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, thank you. I appreciate everything you've done for the sport, everything you've done for me. You've pushed me to levels that I, never thought I would get to. And thanks." And that was it, and that's just kind of the
and wait a minute, Kyle. And how did he respond, please?
He just shook, he stood up, and that was about it. He just kind of nodded his head, and yeah.
He was tore up, but it wasn't like, "Hey man, good luck to you. Freaking, that was a hell of a match." He wasn't like very congratulatory.
Yeah, not quite like that. It's a hard time.
Has he sent you a card since?
No. I think we had an interview, and I was trying to sell a match. I was trying to bait him into wrestling me earlier in the year on one of those cards, and we were jawing back and forth. I think he took it pretty personally, the whole thing.
Really? I remember that. I remember it was right before COVID. Y'all were, and then it got, obviously everything became obsolete at that point.
Yeah.
Was it going to be Beat the Streets?
It was either going to be Beat the Streets or one of the Flow Wrestling cards or a Rockfin card. I forget what it was going to be, but I was trying to get him to wrestle, and he ended up not wrestling. I ended up wrestling Chamizo, and we didn't have another opportunity to compete until the trials.
Chamizo wrestles for Italy?
Yeah, he was born in Cuba, defected to Italy, trains in the U.S., trains in Italy, back and forth.
I know I got a little bit of time left with you. I want to have some fun questions, but I have one more wrestling questions. Again, thank you for doing this. You are a badass, in my opinion. I could watch hours of you and David Taylor right here. If I turn this around, I got a big screen right here in this this podcast studio, and I can literally watch hours of your guys' matches. So thank you for allowing us to do that. But you have the Pan Am Games coming up in 30 days. Then you have the Olympics coming up in when? August?
Yep. First week of August. Yep.
What is your mentality like right now? Is there, like, when I'm a baseball player, I know I'm going into the Yankee Stadium tomorrow. I know who's pitching. I know who's pitching the day after. I know their lineup. I know their reserves. Okay, I know their alternates that could come in. Do you know who you will be wrestling at this point in the Pan Am Games and the Olympics, or will the Pan Am Games dictate some of the Olympics?
So this coming week, I think it's like May 6th, 5th or 6th or 7th or something, is the last chance qualifier. So the last two spots will be filled in every weight class. And U.S. is actually sending one guy over there, Jordan Oliver, at 65 kilos, the weight class below me. So as soon as that tournament's over, we'll know the whole field. And we'll know who's seated where. I don't think I'll be seated. They only seed the top four, and then everyone else gets drawn in. So for me, and I think it's the same with David, I think for us, we're just going to be drawn in, and we might have to wrestle the number one seed right off the bat, or the number 4 seed or whoever it is. And you just got to go out and compete and lay it out there. And for the Pan Ams, I know we have several guys who need to qualify, and we'll be going to Sofia, Bulgaria to try to take one of those last two spots. When I say several guys, Pan Ams have several people there. So I think Cuba needs to send a guy, or maybe they don't. I forget. No, they don't. Because Franklin Gomez qualified from Puerto Rico, and then I'm pretty sure Garzón qualified from Cuba. But So I don't know who's going to be there, but I'll be ready to rock regardless.
So when you just told me that you aren't going to be seated, are you talking about the 4 favorites to win the Olympics? You're not going to be considered one of the top 4 Olympic wrestlers in that tournament?
So how it works is they have a ranking series event. So the United World Wrestling, the governing body that runs the World Championships every year and then works with the IOC to govern the Olympic movement, is they have a ranking series. So they have 4 tournaments plus your continental championships plus the world championships from the year before. So, and it only counts for your weight class. So because I was at 79 kilos, which is a non-Olympic weight class, I didn't get any points for being a world champion. And Jordan, so Jordan got 3rd place points, and then he had an opportunity in 2019 to go to the Pan Am Championships, which got him more points. So I didn't have those opportunities to go and score those points for myself leading in the Olympic Games. And, the ranking series events, I went to one in Italy and I won that. And then they've had a handful of others, but we have to go to the Pan Am Championships. And then like a couple weeks after, there's one final ranking series event. But with COVID and, just like all the travel restrictions, and I didn't want to lose that time training leading in the Olympics. I would rather take those 14 days or however long it would be, maybe even longer, to just focus on my training and go out, and it doesn't matter who I wrestle. So it's not favorites, but it's definitely, definitely just trying to get the best guys ranked at that weight class. So if some new guy comes in, David got hurt last year, so he couldn't get any ranking series points. David's still probably the favorite to win it. He beat Yazdani, who's probably going to be the number 1 seed, and so anyway, I think that's something that they need to work on. They should, other than just making it based on points, they should probably have a committee be like, hey, David Taylor is really, really good. He probably should be the number 1 seed, so him and Yazdani don't wrestle first round.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, so I think it's David had to wrestle. I think he had to wrestle in 2018, Yazdani first round, and then he had to wrestle the Russian Kurugliev, who was probably the 3rd best guy in the weight class, and then I think he had a Cuban who was probably the 4th best guy in the weight class. So he wrestled all the guys his first run. He had a pretty awesome run that year. It was kind of cool to watch.
He's such a stud. All right, new section of the podcast, On the Mat, brought to you by Jack Daniel's Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey. Always enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. I like to sip on a Jack Daniel's once in a while I'm watching this master of disaster, Kyle Dake, throw these grown men around a mat like they're Skittles, like literally like a Pez dispenser of human beings just fly out of this dude's arms and land on their head, their neck, their back. You're like a human Pez dispenser. I'm changing your nickname. Do you, Mr. Kyle Dake, look forward? And I know you're looking at your beautiful wife in there and your kids. The days of training, they might come to an end someday, maybe in 10 years, 15 years. The double days, the cutting weight, the nutrition, the just putting your body through. I mean, it's hard to be a wrestler at this level. Do you look forward to, Mr. Kyle Dake, to having a dad bod and getting a little bit of fat on you? Do you ever have that mentality? Are you like David Taylor, to where you're never going to get out of shape and you're going to be a Greek god physique the rest of your life? Or do you look forward to getting a little overweight, David or Kyle Dake?
I don't think I'll ever be overweight. I think, this is so ingrained into who I am. Obviously there'll be times where I'm like, all right, I need to have this ice cream or whatever it is. But for the most part, I enjoy a really well-cooked steak, or, just a well-cooked salmon, or, whatever it is. I just enjoy eating good food because I like feeling good. And I don't think I'll ever stop exercising because I know if as soon as I stop doing, the functional pattern stuff, I'm probably going to get into pain. So I need to make sure I continue to keep myself out of pain, so I don't need to worry about that. So, I don't think I'll ever be dad bod Dake. I think I'm just going to continue to be this physique Dake.
If it's gold medal time. You just won the gold medal in the Olympics in August. Let's say it's about August 15th, 20th now. You're back in your home state of New York. There's a lot of good food in New York, Kyle Dake. There's a lot of Italian restaurants. You got Nobu Sushi. You got great steakhouses. It's got to be a cheat meal. You and your wife are going out on the town. No kids. Mom and dad got the kids for the night. Are you picking nice sushi? Are you picking Italian food? Are you a Mexican food guy loaded down with cheese? What cheat meal does Kyle Dake choose right after he wins the Olympic gold?
I don't know. I wouldn't call it a cheat meal. I would like to go to a really nice. I think after the Olympics, I'll probably fly home, and we might drive down to Annapolis, Maryland, and go to Luna's Steakhouse. One of my teammates from college, it's his family steakhouse. Best steak, best service, best sides I've ever had. I'll probably end up going there and celebrating down there with them.
In this part of the country, they're known for their crab cakes. They're known for their Dungeness crab. Do you enjoy crab meat, and does your friend's restaurant steakhouse allow you to partake in the best crab eating in the world?
I think I know that they do. I know that they do. So that'll probably definitely be something on the list, but that'll probably be my cheat meal, like having a crab cake with a little bread in it. But normally I stay away from bread, pasta.
Even after the gold medal, you can't have some pasta and bread, Kyle Dake. When's your next match after that? It's going to be at least a month. 2 months.
we had the world championships 2 months later. So it's literally the first weekend in October. We're going to be back at it. So you win a medal at the Olympic Games, you're automatically going at that weight class. So I might have a crab cake or two, but I'm really going to enjoy that steak. I'll tell you what.
2 more questions before we let Mr. Kyle Dake, the great American Olympic wrestler, go. Do you ever partake in libations as an adult? If you go out with your wife and it's a cheat meal, will you enjoy a bottle of wine with your lovely bride? Red, white? Do you like beer? Do you ever sip whiskey neat or on the rocks? Do you like a Jack and Coke once in a while? Do you party at all, Kyle Dake?
I don't party at all. There's only been 4 times in my life where I drank, and it was kind of a bet that kind of rolled itself into a new one. It's kind of a cool story. So one of my buddies he was my lifting partner. He was my training partner. I'm in his wedding coming up. I think it's 2 months now. So he liked to go out and have a good time, and but he loved being in and training. He was probably the hardest working guy that I know. And he's like, hey, come out with us, have a good time. It'll be all right. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't like the taste. I don't like the feeling. I don't like, that loss of control. Like, I don't like any of that. And so, he kind of was trying to push me. He's like, it's college, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I don't really, not interested. And so he goes, all right, well, if you win nationals, you have to promise you'll do a shot of the beer with me after you win. I was like, all right, if this gets you to stop asking me, yeah, I'll do it. Like thinking, he'll forget about it. Not a big deal. Well, as soon as I win, I get in there and I have a shot of the beer waiting for me from this guy. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I do it, and was like, okay. The next year he's like, all right, well, when you win next year, 2 for 2. And I was like, so every year that I won, the number of titles that I had 3, my junior year, 3 shots, 3 beers, my senior year, 4 shots, 4 beers. And that was the last time I ever touched alcohol, unless I cook. But yeah, last time.
What do you mean unless you cook? You will have a glass of wine while you're cooking?
No, I'll reduce some red wine
in cooking in it. Yeah. Gotcha. I guess I do have 2, and I'm letting you go. They're short. If your daughters that are lovely grew up, or if you have another boy in your career coming up, another son, a son. I've asked many athletes in the fight game this question. The toll it's taken on your body, the dedication, the sacrifice, you got to be all in or you're not in to get to the level you're at. Would you promote it to them and support them? I think you would support them. Or would there be a part of you that said, look, I really don't want you going into this field. I don't want to see you get beat up. I don't want to even take a chance of seeing you getting slammed or taken down. What's your mentality on your kids taking the route that their dad, Kyle Dake, did?
Well, when you're at the highest level of something, like I know wrestling. I know the ins and outs of it. I know everything about it. I know how tough it can be, but I also know how great it can be. And I know the benefits of it. And I know how, how it shaped me as a man. And I think that the benefits far outweigh the costs. And especially with what I know now and like how I can teach them, I think I think El Joe and Emmy could be absolute terrorizers out there. And, I don't want it to sound like there's this secret sauce and, there's this and that, because there's going to be times when, my dad was an All-American and he showed me, really solid technique. But when I was a kid, some kids were just stronger than me. I get hit with a chin whip. I get, so I would get beat sometimes, and I didn't know all the situations. It was just a learning curve. But with the stuff I know now, with functional patterns, how much wrestling I know, all of that stuff, I feel like I could set my girls up and to have immediate success, at whatever level they're at. And so I would definitely stand by them if they want to do that. My wife played soccer in college, so if they want to play soccer, same thing. She'll take the reins on that one. I'll be the crazy soccer dad driving the minivan and taking them to and from practice. So.
Our last question with the one and only Kyle Dake. Cauliflower ear. Respond the way you want, please. Is it a sign of achievement? Is it a sign of what you set out and did in your wrestling career? Is it a sign for when I see somebody that has those ears not to mess with them? Because that's what it tells me. When I see Hendo's cauliflower ear, I'm like, I'm good, dude. Mendez, sit over there. We're good. I'll just joke around with you. Don't hit me, please. Don't throw me around. What does it mean to have cauliflower ear? And does this stay part of the 15-year down the road, Kyle Dake? Or is there an operation that you can get some of the cartilage rebuilt or fixed or whatever they would do? I guess in a nutshell, Kyle Dake, do you like having cauliflower ear? And is it part of who you are?
Mine's not that bad.
You don't have it too bad.
Mine are okay. Like I definitely have it in both ears, but it's pretty easy. I mean, it's not, I don't notice it that much. Like I'm not like running into it, getting it caught on everything all the time. This one kind of pops out a little further because I got cauliflower like close to the base of my skull and it kind of pushed my ear out. But no, I don't think I'll ever get surgery on them. I think that, I saw a picture the other day. It was like this guy, this really old guy. He was probably late 90s, maybe he was 100. He looked all disheveled, wrinkly face, just looked like he was a hard, he'd been through the ringer. And you see this guy's ears and they're just like, ugh. I'm like, that dude was a wrestler. That's awesome. Wow. Good for him. Glad he made it that far. And, so my goal is just, I really, most of the stuff that I do is not typical for, a warm-blooded American. They like all their whatever. I'm really focused on, just enhancing my life and enhancing my daughter's life so I can be around for a really long time and help them on their journey and hopefully influence more people and help those people along the way. If they're dealing with pain or if they're dealing with their own personal struggles and, they want to learn about what I know and teachers that have taught me. I think that there's a really awesome, valuable message that I have to pass along.
I love it. And I can't go anywhere without asking the last question. I'm sorry. It's going to be July of 2022. You have one match left in your entire wrestling career. You just won the Olympic gold in August of 2021. You won the World Championships in October of 2021. You have one match left to wrestle. You're done after this. You might coach. You might be driving that minivan to soccer practice with your wife coaching. Who is it in history? Who do you pick to throw down? I don't care if it's Gable, John Smith, Kenny Monday, Chill. I don't care who it is. Is it David Taylor? Is it Jordan? Who does Kyle Dake pick for that one last match? Or is it Kyle Snyder because you want to prove to the world that you could throw his big old country butt around a little bit?
Well, probably. I mean, I expect Kyle to win the Olympics this year and then the World Championships too. So, he would be a two-time Olympic champ. He's in his prime. I might as well go get him while I can. Do my best to, all right, put my best foot forward. Let's see what happens.
You're going with Kyle Snyder?
I might have to go with Kyle Snyder.
Oh, I love that you're saying that, because that's what I was envisioning this whole podcast is, could you literally pick that dude up and slam him with the Dake ball? I'm like, I don't know. I've never grappled with you. Like, I could hold my own strength wise. I know you would pin me in under 30 seconds, but Kyle Snyder is a beast that knows how to wrestle, and he's got that foundation that you talked about. I think that's a great match. I'm a pretty good promoter. I might start putting that together after the World Championships.
We might have to get it done. You know, I'll see if Kyle's down. I'm sure he would be. He loves wrestling. He'll wrestle anybody, anytime, anywhere. So that we might have to make that happen.
Kyle, you're the man, bro. I love your message. I love the way you're living your life. It's a badass life. Congratulations on such a great career so far. I want to do this again maybe after the Pan Ams, before the Olympics, and for sure after the Olympics, because I want to see that picture of you. Maybe we can do one live when COVID settles down even a little more, and I could actually like just feel the gold medal, just see what it feels like.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down for sure. I'll be
maybe a duck hunt this November after the World Championships.
Let's go. I'm in. Turkey season's coming right up, so hopefully I can get home and get a couple gobblers.
Oh yeah, they're running around. I've been on several already. I've hunted in 7 states and had a lot of success. I've been eating wild turkey like it's going out of style.
Nice. God, I'm jealous.
That's Kyle Dake. You guys got to check him out. You girls got to check this dude out. Just watch him wrestle, his mentality. What a great story. What a great college career. I don't know if this is a professional career. I love wrestlers because it's not a glorious livelihood. It's not like you're signing huge deals, but you will. It's going to transition into that because of your mentality, and it's going to always be a successful life. You guys should just be paid so much more to be representing America and representing this great sport. My opinion, I know where you probably stand on that, but good on you, bro. I love watching you whip up on people, and I am going to start putting together the preliminary paperwork with my attorneys to see what it's going to take to become a wrestling promoter to put you on the mat with Kyle Snyder in 2022.
Sounds good.
I'm going to actually raise enough money to make it worth both of your time. That's what my goal is.
All right, perfect. That's money right there.
Kyle Dake, thank you, bro.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
That's This Life Ain't For Everybody. Tom, Jake, hit that button. Thank you guys so much for the subscriptions and downloads. This is Leith Lofton singing a song called What You Gonna Do When the Money's All Gone.
I'd rather be poor living off in a hole, rich as hell without